Okay, well, hello, I am Dr. Strand. I'm with the Vet Social Work Program, and we're going to do a very short description of what Ho Oponopono is. So Ho Oponopono is an indigenous conflict resolution strategy for the Hawaiian culture, and it stands for to make right. And it is for relationships that are ongoing and valuable. So this approach is useful when people have to continue living together in the same family, working together in the same clinic or other type of business setting. And the relationship is a valuable relationship to each party. It's also a useful strategy when participants understand and are willing to engage in the strategy of apologizing and forgiving a conflict situation. Now, not all conflict situations have participants that are willing to forgive, and that concept of forgiveness in and of itself is a loaded word, and you'll have some other research about forgiveness that you can look at in another type of video. For now, it's just important to understand that the Ho Oponopono process carries within it the basic expectation that people will apologize and forgive. And so if the participants are not willing to even consider that, this would not be the right approach to use. So the guidelines that need to be set by the facilitator of the Ho Oponopono process are as follows. The first guideline is that participants talk to the facilitator in this model. In other conflict resolution models, the participants talk to each other, and not in this model. In this model, the facilitator listens to each side. Then the job of the other participant who's not talking is to actually listen without interrupting. So person A is talking to me, and person B is listening to what person A is saying about them to me. You can imagine that is kind of hot for the person B. We'll get to that in a moment. The third part of the guidelines is that everybody has to be honest, so you have to tell the whole story and say everything that needs to be said. And the reason why that's so important is that it's very difficult to apologize or forgive something if you haven't expressed everything that needs to be said. So we'll come back to that in a moment. Then the participants reflect on what they heard, and they identify what they need to apologize for. You can imagine these are big steps. Express apology and ask for forgiveness. So there's the stage when you express, I apologize for making you feel like you didn't matter. Will you forgive me? Will you ask for forgiveness? And then this is a big deal, and it's very important that the participants know this going into the Ho Oponopono process, that at that point you let it go and you put it to rest. So that process of, that 15 years ago when you did that to me, we're doing it just again. Here we are, same situation. Not allowed if you go through the Ho Oponopono process. Once you express it, you say everything that needs to be said, and you express apology and you forgive. Doesn't mean you don't have conflicts you've got to deal with in the future, but it just means you're not allowed to bring up the past. And then at the end, you share a meal. So let's go through, so those are the guidelines. Let's go through the steps, okay? So the steps are, the first is that there's a prayer, because Ho Oponopono comes from the indigenous Hawaiian culture and was very much connected to their relationship with higher beings, with spiritual beings. And they felt as if there was a conflict in my family or a sickness in my family, then it was because the gods were angry. So inherent in Ho Oponopono is a prayer. Now, that may clearly not be appropriate in a work environment. So as this technique has been moved into businesses or medical institutions, instead of a prayer, you use silence, or you can also integrate the values of the organization. The reason why this step is very good is that in conflict, a person can get very myopic about their own needs, interests, expectations, positions. This step helps the individuals recognize that there's something bigger than them And that broader perspective is sometimes really what it takes to resolve a conflict. The next step is that you express the grievances. So in this step, the facilitator listens to person A say all of the things that are making them angry about person B's behavior. Then the facilitator says, okay, person B, go ahead and express to me all of the things that person A is doing that is making you angry. Now, the next step is the apology and the forgiveness. And this is when after let's say I'm person A, I listen to what person B's anger is towards me. And if I can find some little thread of truth to what their argument is against me, then in the apology section I would say, you know what, I'm really sorry that I treated you that way on that day. I had had a bad day and I was in a bad mood and I took it out on you and I'm sorry. Will you forgive me? So at this point, the participants can actually talk to each other. In stage 2, there's no crosstalk. You just talk to the facilitator. In stage 3, they can express apology to each other and ask forgiveness from each other. And then the last stage, and I think this really does speak to the fact that this does come from a more indigenous culture and the importance of meal sharing in creating peace and being a community together. The last stage is always that there's some form of a meal that's shared together. So let me just touch on one last point. This process may take many, many sessions. And I was speaking with a mediator recently, and what she said to me, and I think it's very true and difficult in today's age, that conflict resolution takes time. It can't be done as quickly as posting on Facebook or listening to a text message, but it's worth it in the end in maintaining relationships and creating a positive work environment that results in good patient care in, for instance, the medical or veterinary medical environment. And so the place where in the Ho Oponopono process it may take time is in the expressing grievances stage. So this may take more than one session, and the sessions may be an hour long, and person A expresses a grievance, person B expresses a grievance. Now person A says, you know what, I'm angry that he said that about me. This is what I really think happened. And so there's this process, continue to express grievance, and they kind of reflect on what the other person said. So that can take time. And as you can imagine, for the facilitator, the ability to remain calm. So want to just emphasize that this stage 2 oftentimes has to take several sessions. The last thing to touch on is this concept of silence. In the Ho Oponopono process, if people are interrupting, so they're not able to do the guideline 2, they're listening, but then they start to interject, I didn't do that, that's not true. The facilitator has to bring people back to silence. And the benefit of this is taking some nice deep breaths, engaging the relaxation response or that vagus nerve, helps to keep the body out of stress when emotions are high. And that's really the job of the facilitator, and it's a really important part of the Ho Oponopono process. So you have some videos, examples that are very simplistic but give you a sense of what the Ho Oponopono process might be like, and you'll also have some other presentations that explicate further where this process came from, as well as this hot topic of forgiveness. And there's a lot to be learned about that concept. So thanks for your time. Have a good day.